It is Thursday on Daily Delivery. I'm Michael Rand. Glad to be back at it for another show and a good one coming up. If you missed myself and Bill Guerin, Wild General Manager, out at the State Fair on Wednesday, fear not. That is the interview subject on today's show. Recorded that from yesterday around noon. Really good conversation, fun with Bill Guerin, just talking about stuff at the fair, of course. They get a little bit more free-flowing than a regular daily delivery interview segment, but plenty of substance too with upcoming season, what's going on with Marco Rossi, other players, and some good questions from the audience as well. So stick around for that. Hope you enjoy that conversation as we kind of get ready for Wild training camp just a few weeks away. Doesn't quite feel like it, because the calendar, at least for another day, still says August, and it still is summer, at least for a little while longer now. But getting ready for the Wild season, and plenty of intrigue for that season coming up ahead. Some Vikings roster moves that we'll get to at the end of the show. Gophers open their football season tonight. Not going to go too deep on that because we had a lot of Gopher football content the last couple days, but we got to mention something here towards the end of this segment here, as well as Minnesota United. First, though, what did I miss? We got to start with the Twins. They had a chance on Wednesday to really put Cleveland not all the way away, but chance to go up, 7 games with 20-some left to play in the season. A win in that game on Wednesday really would have, essentially let them just kind of coast to the finish line, and it looked like they were going to get there. Sonny Gray was awesome on Wednesday, 7 shutout innings, and only needed 81 pitches to do it. Turns it over to the bullpen with a 2-0 lead. Griffin Jacks gives up a run. It's 2-1 going into the 9th. Jhoan Duran in. They're 1 strike away from winning the game, but a wild pitch ties it up. Twins give up 3 more in the 10th, lose 5-2. Lead is 5 games, and still big picture-wise, I'm sure they still feel pretty good about things. I know they've still got 3 left with Cleveland. A 5-game lead still seems pretty safe, especially relative to, you remember they were a half game back at the All-Star break. So big picture, we're not sounding alarm bells here, but A, a chance to really put Cleveland away, didn't do that. And B, I think we've talked a lot about the struggles of the bullpen. We've talked about various pitchers at various times. Beginning of the year, it was Emilio Pagan in a lot of these high leverage situations that wasn't coming up in the clutch. After that, it got to be guys like Griffin Jacks has had his problems. Brock Stewart and Caleb Thielbar were hurt for quite a while. They were looking for reliable guys. Jorge Lopez, that just didn't work out. Someone we haven't maybe talked enough about struggle-wise is Jhoan Duran. In the last 2 months, you look at Jhoan Duran in terms of both the statistics and how you feel when he enters a game, and it's just not the same as it was for the first 3 months of the year. You go back the first 3 months of the year through the end of June, Duran had an ERA of 1.5. He was lights out. He came into the game. You expected that game to be over. Since then, since the start of July, Jhoan Duran has an ERA of 4.64, and it could be even worse because 5 runs also unearned during that time. So 21 1/3 innings pitched, 26 hits, 6 walks, 16 runs, 11 of them earned. Giving up a 302 batting average during that span and an 830 OPS. That is not dominant, and I'm wondering if he's worn down, if people are figuring him out, or if he's just kind of going through a stretch where more hits are falling in, things like that. I don't know. It just seems like when he comes into a game now, I don't have the same feeling that I have, and some of it's just that he's struggled more, and that's going to happen. But I don't know where it turned exactly, when it started to feel different, but that's not a good sign for this postseason. They need Jhoan Duran. If, assuming they're going to lock up this AL Central race at some point here, they are going to need Jhoan Duran to be at his best in the postseason. They cannot go into the playoffs thinking, this isn't that great. We don't really have a guy that we trust on the back and the backside, because you can't get into a postseason situation, a 3-2 game, and feel like you're shaky going into a ninth inning. You've got to be able to nail those down. So that's what I'm watching over this next month. Can they finally finish off Cleveland? And B, can Duran get back to that point where you feel like he is the dominant closer that he was for the first 3 months of the season, in fact, that he was so much of last year? Because I just haven't had that feeling in the last couple months, and the stats, unfortunately for the Twins, bear that out. The opposite of that feeling is when Emmanuel Reynoso plays for Minnesota United, as he did on Wednesday. They beat Colorado 3-0, 2 goals from Reynoso, 1 from Timo Pukki. A good win, a big win for them. It was just a rare home win at Allianz Field. Moves them from 10th to 7th in the MLS playoff standings. That puts them in the playoffs as of now. Still plenty of work to do. Still a handful of games left here down the stretch, but they have to feel good about that, not squandering that opportunity against Colorado, getting the 3 points at home. A lot of games coming up here in a short span, but Reynoso been such a key to that season. When I talked to Adrian Heath, I think it was last week, just his getting his best players going, getting all of his best players back. Reynoso, undoubtedly their best player when he plays at that level. Even though he was a little banged up, he's playing on an ankle that's not 100%. He can still score 2 goals in that kind of environment, with that kind of setback, weighing him down a little bit. That's pretty impressive, and gives them, like I said, those much needed 3 points. So a good win for the Loons. Final thing in this segment: Gopher football. Good piece by Chip Scoggins today, and I think it underscores the biggest question I have going into the season and the opener tonight against Nebraska. A sellout. I've been watching. I went to the fair, of course, yesterday, like I said, with Bill Guerin. That's coming up here in a minute. I park over at the U because it's just easier for me to get there, ride the shuttle over. It's a pretty smooth experience, and I saw all the preparation going on at Huntington Bank Stadium, saw the Nebraska truck pull up, they're unloading all the equipment. It's a big deal. Sellout crowd, big night. I want to watch, though, like Chip wrote about, can PJ Fleck adapt this season? Can the Gophers evolve? They haven't had to in recent years because, A, the schedule hasn't been as hard. They've had this kind of softer Big Ten schedule. Their non-conference has been okay, but I think they'll be tested against North Carolina this year in a way that they haven't been tested in past years. And just, a tougher Big Ten slate. And can they throw the ball more? Can PJ Fleck adapt to a more modern style of college football? Because if they can't adapt and go forward, I feel like they're going to get stuck in the past here to a certain point. That's what I want to watch for this season, and especially in Thursday's opener against Nebraska.
MGM Wine & Spirits is the choice for savings, service, and a great selection of spirits, pre-mixed cocktails, wines, and of course, ice-cold beers and hard seltzers. With over 30 locations throughout the Twin Cities and beyond, there's an MGM near you. Head to MGMWineandSpirits.com to find a convenient location in your area. Get social. Follow MGM on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest news and trends. Make great moments with MGM Wine & Spirits, your locally owned and operated choice for over 50 years. Save time, save money. Shop MGM.
All right, welcome out, everybody. Michael Rand here from the Star Tribune. I've got Bill Guerin, Minnesota Wild General Manager, with me. Everybody give him a big round of applause. Grab a seat. Enjoy the nice weather. Bill, I don't think it's been like this when we've been out here.
No, it's usually at least 15 degrees hotter, and the humidity is usually
off the charts. Yeah.
More serious than this. This is perfect.
So what do you do this time of year? I mean, you guys are kind of in between space. You're not in camp yet. What's the protocol right now?
Do the things I can't do when I'm not, when I'm in season. I just got back from Croatia on Monday night, and my wife and I were out there with a big group on, friends for a week, and it was a blast. So things like that, we're gonna go out to Colorado for Labor Day weekend and visit some more friends out there and play some golf, and just stuff like that before we kind of hit the grind.
Are you able to fully unplug? What's your work-life ratio when you do that?
I do my best because I think you really have to, but things always come up. There's always a text message or a call or something that question needs to be answered. Don't get me wrong, it is not a grind right now at all. But you can never really just completely turn off. But I do a pretty good job of it when I have to.
I think last year there was some drama last year. I think last time I talked to you around this stage last year, we were wondering where your star player might be. I don't think. Hopefully, you don't have that drama this year.
No, we do not have that drama. But like we were talking, I think last year when we did this interview, my wife and I left for Spain. But again, like I missed half of, like we were in Barcelona and I did the Kulikov trade during dinner.
Really?
It was a time change and everything came to a head, and I mean I had to do my job, so I missed most of the paella.
Wow. You can always go back, right?
You can always go back.
You can't always get Kulikov. You can always go back to Spain.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, don't feel bad for me. I'm okay.
You just joined us. This is Bill Guerin, Minnesota Wild General Manager, graciously spending some of his time at the fair out here, making the rounds. What have you done so far, aside from talk to people like me?
Yeah, honestly, just talk to people like you. And I did have my annual Pronto Puff. I'll be having something else after. And then I've got a couple more obligations. And then I'm coming back tomorrow. For some more food, some beer,
okay,
and Duran Duran.
Oh, really? Is that? That's kind of. I've seen them before. They're kind of in my wheelhouse. Is that?
Totally. I mean, I was born in 1970, so growing up in the 80s,
right.
They were huge, and I've never seen them before, so this is exciting. See Simon LeBon and the guys.
That's great. That caught me off guard. I love that though. Let's talk about the season a little bit. Expectation-wise, you guys have a lot of the same players, and so I think there's maybe the temptation to kind of wonder where the improvement comes from within. You've had successful regular seasons. What do you think, expectation-wise and also roster building-wise coming into the season? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to, or the things that you want to see?
Yeah, like you said, we have most of the same team coming back. Minus Matt Dumba, minus Ryan Reeves, but we have Marcus Johansson signed to an extension. We traded for Pat Maroon. So the team is relatively the same. But the expectations, are high, and they remain the same. We expect improvement. We expect to make the playoffs again, and when we get to the playoffs, we expect to do better than we've done. And it's the way we have to think. It's the way we have to operate, and to have high expectations is something that I feel is really important. And it starts day one of training camp.
When you've been to the playoffs 3 years in a row and played competitive series but haven't gotten over that hump to the second round, how do you evaluate kind of what is just luck of the draw, flukes, bounces, and what you need to do differently when you get to those moments?
I mean, we have evaluated it. I mean, we watched it a number of times, and I think the most important thing to do is, because the playoffs are so emotional, I think it's really important that you take a little time, step back from it, and then go revisit it with kind of a cool head, not with less emotions involved, and really just kind of figure out what happened. You can look at things like Ryan Hartman getting hurt. You can look at things like Joel Eriksson Ek not being available, and those are serious things for us.
Oh yeah.
But then you can also look at certain parts of our game really needed to be better. We needed scoring from Kirill. We needed scoring from Bolts. We didn't get it, and nobody was more disappointed than them. But that was the reality. Why didn't they? Why weren't we getting scoring? Why was our PK, not good until Game 5? Things like that. We have to go at it with an objective view and figure out how we can fix it.
I don't think you guys take someone like Eriksson Ek for granted, but maybe we do a little bit when you see what it looks like when he's not there. He does so much for you guys.
I mean, he does everything for us, and it's when a guy like him goes down, it's an enormous hole in the roster to fill. And it's just you don't just replace guys like that. You really don't. And it's just tough to do.
As you think about kind of the next wave of players, and we've talked about this. I mean, we're into that zone now where you're needing some of these younger, entry-level contract guys to produce, in part because that's just the evolution of hockey, but in part because you still have the Parisi and Suter buyouts on the cap for the next couple of years. Who's kind of the next wave as we kind of think about, the guys that are going to step into those roles?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what time we are, with salary cap situations or, whether we have buyouts affecting us or not, it doesn't matter. We are always going to need that next wave of players to contribute, and we're going to really have to have some of these young guys step up. We're going to have Brock Faber in our lineup this year. We're looking for him to contribute. We're looking for guys, depth guys to contribute more. Bottom line guys, we can use more contribution from Duran. We'll need chip in from Maroon. We'll need, we'll need more in the playoffs from everybody. And it's not just production. We need just more. More sacrifice, more dedication, more. It's kind of funny to say and kind of vague, but it is. We need more.
I'm glad you mentioned Brock Faber. I had him on the Daily Delivery podcast a couple weeks ago. You can probably hear this interview, by the way, everybody, on that show tomorrow. I don't think I've talked to someone who wants to win for Minnesota quite as much as Brock Faber. How do you, in your interactions with him, how do you characterize his kind of love of Minnesota?
I mean, I think that's pretty common in hockey players from Minnesota, just people from Minnesota in general. But I think when, I used to be very apprehensive about bringing Minnesota-born players back to Minnesota to play for the Wild because you're not at the U, you're not at St. Cloud, you're not at Minnesota State. You're in the National Hockey League, and it's a business, and it's a way better league.
Yeah,
and the stakes are higher, and there's a lot of pressure, and I don't want to bring guys back just so they can, be close to family and hang out at home and be where they're comfortable. I don't want guys to be that comfortable. I want them to be on edge. I want them to be focused on winning, and sometimes when you get too many players from one place that are on the team, it can be like that. But I think now more than ever, guys from Minnesota do want to play in Minnesota, and they want to win here, and they're very focused. And I look at Brock, and there's none of that. He is laser focused in. I look at Sammy Walker, and it's the same thing. They want to deliver something to their home state that nobody has delivered before, and that's exciting to me.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Hey, by the way, if anybody has a question for Bill Guerin from the Minnesota Wild general manager, we've got a microphone right down here. Feel free to come on up and give it a whirl when you are so inclined. We got some more time with Bill here, but Bill, as you kind of think about, if you'll step up, and we'll stop what we're doing if you guys want to come up and ask. But if you just kind of think about the Wild and kind of its trajectory, when should this be kind of like hitting a peak? Because you've been good, and I know that a lot of people rate your prospect system as, if not the best, certainly one of the best. Like, what's the arc that you kind of have in mind as you think about the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year plan?
Yeah, you know what? We want to get better every year. We want to continually, build our roster, build our team, build our culture and our winning attitude, and eventually, and you know what? I don't know if it's in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but we want to keep building to where we are contending for a Stanley Cup for a good number of years. And we just, so for that, I can't give you a set date or year, but it's got to be a continual build. And that comes in different ways. Right now, we are on the draft and develop plan. We are not trading away a lot of draft picks at all. At some point in time, that can switch to big trades or free agency, things like that, where we want to make more of an impact for the right now. But yeah, it's a gradual build. But like I said, I think doing that with the high expectations of winning every night and every year are really important.
So goaltending last year was very good, and maybe became something different than we thought it would be at the start of the year when you traded for Philip Gustafsson. I don't think you knew what you were going to get from him last year.
Well, we didn't think we were going to get that.
Well, nobody did. I didn't.
We thought he could be pretty good. We did some homework on him, and talent-wise, his technique and things like that. When the goalie coaches watched him, they thought that there was really something positive there. What he did was way above what we thought we were going to get. And it's great. Him and Flower really struggled out of the gate. I remember, I don't know.
20 goals in 3 games?
Oh my God, it was awful. We were like, holy cow.
What do we do?
Yeah.
We had a nice thing going. What do we do?
We got to give them their gloves back. But boy, did they turn it around. Like and I think it was really good for Philip to be with Flower, because Flower, like, kind of, you could see it. He got mad and he got focused and he worked on his game, and he spent more time in the gym, more time taking shots, all these things. And I think Philip watched Flower and kind of emulated what he was doing, and they both kind of turned it around together at the same time. That's why I think they're such a good tandem, and I think it was great last year to have a veteran like Marc-Andre Fleury around Philip Gustafsson.
So, how does it play? You don't know how it plays out this year. You got Gustafsson now under contract for the 3-year deal that you negotiated with him and signed a few weeks ago. Jasper Wallstedt has been playing awfully well in the minors. You've got Fleury, this veteran who's won 3 Stanley Cups. I wouldn't characterize this as a problem, but you've got a lot of capable goalies kind of on this whole spectrum, and it's going to be interesting to me at least to see how that plays out this year.
Yeah, it will be. But you know what? We want somebody to just come in and take the reins. That's what you want. We have a capable veteran, a good, solid young goaltender that we just signed. We have probably the best goaltending prospect in the world right now in Jesper Wallstedt. So come in and take a job. Like that's what we want. It's healthy competition. It's competition within teammates, and that's what you want. I think Jesper could use a little more time and be the true number one in the American Hockey League. But hey, look, we're never opposed to players stepping in and playing great either.
Talking with Bill Guerin again here. If anybody has a question for Bill, please come on up right here.
I have a quick question. What is the lip balm color?
Crop art. So it kind of tastes like wild rice.
Wait, what?
Crop art. So how there's the crop art. It's the you're confused.
I'm from out of town.
Yeah, it's a state fair thing. It's kind of like it's made out of it kind of smells like wild rice, I guess. Is how I would say. We'll get you some if you like some. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll grab some.
We can do that. I think we have a question over here. Go ahead.
Super.
I think we got to turn that one on.
Louder.
There we go.
Hey Bill, lifetime Minnesota hockey fan, North Stars, Wild, but I've never been more into the Wild than now Kaprizov. I'm just watching him on TV. It's just fantastic. We're going to the game. So you mentioned that you needed to get more out of him last year in the playoffs. And just watching it, I'm just curious how you try to balance your lines, but then give him the best opportunity to really show his skills with either somebody to pass to and score, or I don't remember I'm blanking on whose line it is. Zuccarello, right? He does a good job of passing to him, but how can we get even more out of Kaprizov?
Well, I mean, honestly, it is tough to ask more of him because he does so much on a night in, night out basis. I think, yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch him struggle through the playoffs last year because, you know, he cares so much. You know, I know the coaching staff does certain things at certain times to maybe kind of jar something, you know, loose, like switch the lines, giving somebody different to play with. It's a different feel. But it's really tough to ask for more than what he already gives us. Hey, look, can he give us, you know, 50 goals or 55 goals rather than, you know, 47, 48? Yeah, he probably can, but, you know, for me, the effort, the compete, the battle that Kirill has each and every night is as important as, you know, his stats, because that really drives the bus for our team. If our best player competes the way he does, or like he does, everybody else has to jump on board. But, you know, hey, look, I'm in management now. You're always asking for more. If fair or unfair, you just want more from everybody.
We got another one down here. Go for it.
What tips would you give to me at my age as a hockey player?
Good question.
Tips would I give to you as a hockey player?
How old are you? 10.
10.
That's a good age.
The very first thing is have fun with the game. Love the game. Play it for fun. It is great. And you know what? Just work hard. Like, you know what? You can control a couple things, right? You can control how hard you work at the game. You can control what a good teammate you are. And just really, honestly, love the game. You can go to all the skills coaches and this and that and all that stuff. Just make sure that you're having fun with it. When I was a young kid, we didn't have skills coaches and things like that. I'm sure your dad will tell you that too. Like, you played for fun. Get out on the pond. You know, play unstructured hockey. You don't always have to be at a practice or with a skills coach. Get your buddies, get out on the pond, play with no rules, make stuff up. You know, your boots is the goals, all that stuff. Play hockey and just love it. You got it, buddy.
Can you tell, like, even the guys that are on the Wild right now, the guys that grew up loving the game, or the guys that have some of that creativity to their game, that were able to, or were allowed to do some of those things that you were just saying?
Oh, yeah. And I think that's one thing. Like, you can tell the guys that were allowed to, you know, kind of like I said, play pond hockey, play shinny hockey. Don't let the adults screw it up. You know, and they can think the game. You know what? There are a lot of guys out there, and they're in the league. You know what? They're fast as hell. They can stick handle. They can shoot. They can't think. They don't know how to play the game. And half of them can't throw a ball either. They've never played baseball or anything. It's kind of funny.
That's like a point of emphasis.
Yeah,
supposed to play multiple sports.
Play other sports. That'll make you a better hockey player.
Thanks for the questions, you guys. Anybody else have any questions? We've got about 5 minutes left here with Bill Guerin, General Manager of the Wild. Really appreciate his time out here. Beautiful day, by the way. Hope everybody's having a good time at the fair. It's just, I love it. I love it.
Oh, I think the fair is awesome. I love coming every year. You know, it gives me an excuse to. It's pretty much my normal diet, I would think. But Pronto Pups are my favorite. I already buried one of those. It's just a matter of what's next.
We got another question.
I don't know what to say. You got pierogies? What is that? What is it?
Ice cream.
Sweet corn ice cream?
Oh, that sounds kind of good.
With butter, bacon, syrup. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
That's like a side dish for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would.
And dessert. The one thing I mean, I know the corn's great, but I don't gravitate towards the corn because it's a vegetable and there's just so many other great things.
It's kind of a vegetable.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
If I come back in the future of the fair, what are we going to see first? A Stanley Cup or a new GM?
Oh, wow. The tough question.
Wow.
A Stanley Cup or a new GM? What's coming first?
Wait, what was your timeline?
When he comes back next.
When you come back next, I hope I don't see you for 15 years.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would think if we do, and when we do deliver a Stanley Cup, I'm sure it will make an appearance here. Well, you won't get to touch it.
We're going to come find you and make sure that you get the first dibs out of it.
We got it.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
You can tell, though, people, I mean...
No, that's the one thing, and I think it's a misconception of Minnesota sports market is because being an outsider, when you're coming in, you only hear about Minnesota nice, and, everybody's so nice, and they just kind of... People want to win here. They want a championship. They want to win. And it's a demanding sports market. It should be. Yeah. This is a great sports market. And it's not just kind of honky-dory, and people are not okay with just losing.
Yeah. People want to win.
People want to win. And I like that. I think it's great. You should want to win. You should expect excellence from your team. Not crap.
Yeah, you should. I mean, it's hard because there's like stages. Like you got to understand where you are as a franchise. But I think you guys are knocking on the door of being more than you are.
Listen, there are rebuilds. There are rebuilds on the fly. There are down seasons. I understand all that. But you want and trust me, I grew up a Boston sports fan, and it's very demanding. You want your teams run properly, managed properly. Putting everything they have into it in order to win. You're not going to win every year, but you better die trying. And I think we have a first-class owner. I think we have a first-class organization. We put everything we have into it, and we're growing it. And you know what? We want to win. Listen, I'm not here just because I like to do the job. The job's great. You want to win. That's it.
If anybody else has one more question for Bill, I got one more for him, but
just not this guy.
Not this guy. When are you going to win a Stanley Cup, or are you going to get fired? I love it. That's essentially what it boiled down to. It's okay. It's what we're out here.
It'll be great though when she comes with her new husband.
Wow!
Sorry, you're all set.
Wow.
She has already left him.
I was going to ask you about Marco Rossi, but I don't know if I can top that.
Yeah, no, Marco's doing great. He's been in Minnesota all summer. We've had about 12 guys in Minnesota all summer working out at our practice rink and enjoying what Minnesota has to offer in the summer. And it's just, and they love it. It's fantastic. And, like young guys too, like Kalen Addison, Middleton, and guys that never spent a summer here before are here and committed to it, and it's great.
Sounds like you guys are primed for a fun and interesting year. I think, and maybe when I talk to you this time next year, we'll have some playoff advancement and things like that to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll see you here next year, buddy.
Yeah. And with the Stanley Cup, hoisting the cup right here.
And hopefully we get this great weather again.
That'll be great. Well, once again, everybody, big round of applause. Bill Guerin, Minnesota Wild General Manager. We appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the offseason until the grind starts.
Thanks, and good luck winning more stuffed animals.
I'm so far today.
Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Bill Guerin. If you missed it out at the fair yesterday, had a lot of people stop by, so that was really appreciated as well. Good questions from the audience, so thank you if you were out there. Come join me. I've got 2 more planned appearances, Saturday and Monday, I believe. Minnesota Lynx will be out there, I think 3 o'clock Saturday. And Gophers women's basketball coach Don Plitzowite is supposed to join me sometime Monday morning, Labor Day. So check back for the official time on that once I know for sure. But yeah, Bill Guerin, really enjoyed talking to him. Loved learning that he's a Duran Duran fan. This is probably the first ever episode of Daily Delivery, where we talk both Duran and Duran Duran. But that was fun to kind of to hear that he's going to that concert tonight. A child of the '80s music, of course, based on when he was born, and a big season ahead for the Wild. Let's not sugarcoat it. I think they've been good. They've had good regular seasons. I think their best years are still ahead of them, but they need to keep ascending at this point and take a step at some point to feel like they are on the right track. So that's what I'm watching for the Wild this season. Let's finish with the cooler, though. Vikings made some roster moves. And I started Wednesday's show clamoring for something more to happen after watching those initial Tuesday cutdowns. And then not long after that, they signed former Dolphins running back Myles Gaskin and former Bills offensive lineman David Quessenberry. Both of those experienced veterans, give them a little bit more depth. As a kind of as a side note to what they did there, they put Kene Nwangwu on injured reserve and cut Jalen Reagor. That closes the book on probably not the ideal scenario with Reagor when they acquired him last year. I think they wanted more from Jalen Reagor, but he did give me one of my favorite moments ever on the show, and that's what I want to end with. I asked Jalen Reagor, I went around last year and asked all sorts of Viking special teams players about the butt punt, that play where the Miami punter kicked the ball off of his own lineman and it went for a safety. And a lot of the Vikings were good sports and kind of played along with it or answered questions about what it's like to play special teams. Jalen Reagor wasn't rude or anything like that, but he just didn't really have the time or patience for that question. So I want to end today by playing that exchange I had with him that I used on a podcast almost a year ago.
You ever seen a punter kick a punt off of another man's butt? Did you see the butt punt from the Dolphins game?
Nah, I ain't see it.
You didn't see it at all? So what happened was Dolphins they backed up their own end zone. Guy goes to punt it. His own teammate's too far back. Kicks it right into the teammate's butt. Goes right in the air for a safety.
They don't got nothing to do with me.
No, I know. I just was wondering if you ever seen something like that.
Nah, I haven't.
I don't know if you have a favorite Jalen Reagor moment with the Vikings, but that one was mine. And that'll do it for today. Bobby Nightingale Jr. expected to join me on Friday's show to talk Twins, going into a big road stretch here against Texas and Cleveland. They need to pull through in those 6 games to feel like they're kind of hitting that home stretch with a comfortable lead. Bob and I will talk about all sorts of things, I am sure, coming off of an interesting slate of games. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Michael Rand, back at it again tomorrow.